Hey everyone, it's Asia,
And Corey.
and we're coming to you on behalf of House of Tek. So today we're going to be talking about just different things related to COVID-19 and some tips, some do's and don'ts for those that are working from home during this quarantine time.
Yes.
So one of the first things we want to talk about today is confidentiality of the information that you're taking home with you. So when it comes to working from home, we know that it's an added benefit. I mean, a lot of us were probably happy right now because we get to work in our pajamas. I'm sure the kids are happy too that they're at home too. But the biggest thing to keep in mind is that the information that your company has given you access to, your files, all kinds of documents that you use to do your job, things that you interact with and you receive from your clients for your job. The biggest thing you want to make sure is that you don't allow unauthorized access by your kids, your wife, your husband, grandma, grandpa to that information by allowing them to use your company work laptop, without permission or without authorization. And I know even some companies allow you as an employee to surf the web, check the news, check social media every now and then. Okay, cool. But recognize that's a right that your company gives you and not mom, dad, fiance, brother, whoever, right? So you want to keep that in mind, to keep that information confidential, especially if you're working in a field where you deal with a lot of financial documents, you deal with personal information of other people, all kinds of things like that. You do not want that falling into the wrong hands. Not to say that your family members may do something nefarious with it, but let's say that, you're allowing them to use your website to play Roblox or, whatever, and they accidentally click on a link and you get a virus on your computer. Well, now somebody has access to the information that's on your computer. There's a possibility, so you want to keep that in mind. Keep it confidential.
Definitely. So like I was saying, remember this in short: your laptop is the most confidentiality thing you have right now at your house. It is literally your job brought home. So the same way, those same rules still apply as if you was at the work site. Those same type of procedures and guides that you are patterning your life after at work, now you bring those home when you're working from home. Mm-hmm. When you have this allotted time to work, you want to make sure you keep that laptop safe. And so that also brings us to another point, which is integrity. Think of it like this: a real person. When we think of a real person that have integrity, we think about good morals. We think about different things like that. So with that being said, now that you're working from home in the days of quarantine, that's what we're going to delve this saga.
Quarantine days.
The quarantine days. So now that you're working from home, you want to keep in mind this. Those same tactics are still out there. People are still using phishing. People are still using spam. They're still using these things to try to get a hold of the information that you have. But now they're using another disguise in the form of COVID-19. Right. There are a lot of people right now, Asia, that are afraid. They don't know what's going on with this disease that's rapidly spreading across the world. Mm-hmm. So people know that you have that fear. You want to make sure you have a cure. You want to make sure you're healed. So be mindful of those different links that says, click on this link, we're going to give you a cure, or click on this link, download this to be in line for a cure. You want to make sure that you do those same things that you're taught at work. I want to make sure emails are matching up with names. I want to make sure that all this stuff is still accurate. I want to look for misspelling. I want to look for all these things that we're taught to look for through the security classes that your job may send out. I know a lot of jobs constantly send out throughout quarterly different activities to keep their employees fresh on mind.
Right. Your information security trainings that your job may do. And even in addition to that, when it comes to integrity, a lot of scams are out there that exist to where people will call you. People will email you, text you, requesting personal information from you, claiming that they're requesting this information related to COVID-19, and try to market it to you as something that will aid you and benefit you. When really they're just trying to get a hold of your personal information and use that to exploit you. So keep in mind, anybody that calls, things that they ask for, social security number, first and last name, even financial information, account numbers, routing numbers, personal information such as your address, job history, even things like that, anything that can personally identify you as who you are, you want to keep those things confidential and make sure you check the source as to who's asking for that. There have been known to be, in past times where there were scams with the IRS, people calling and saying that people owe money to the IRS, when in reality it was not even that correct government agency. But people fell for that because of the fear. So, one thing people are going to drive off of in this time is fear. So make sure that you still make wise decisions even in the midst of these times.
Yes.
With that, another thing we want to talk about when it comes to integrity is even in these situations that you have a lot of misinformation that's being communicated to people. Things posted online that are not true about COVID-19, about resources available to people, the list goes on. So be careful when you're on social media, when you're sharing news stories and links to articles, make sure that the source is something that is legitimate. Me personally, when it comes to news articles, if it's not something like CNN or the Washington Post, and even sometimes then I will check who they reference to make sure that this is something that is legitimate. This is information that's coming from a viable source. So having information that, shows that it does have integrity, meaning it's authentic,
Yes.
it really is something like legit, 100% real. So that way we're not spreading fear and misinformation, and causing other people to respond and react in ways, that are not called for or not even beneficial to, the different things that our governments and societies and communities have set up for this whole COVID-19 crisis.
Yes, and also one last thing too about integrity. I know a lot of people looked and seen how the president, Congress, and all of them passed the bill for the money to get dispersed now.
Right.
So remember this: your bank account or ours would never call you asking for your routing number or your account number. If anyone's calling, saying they represent your bank and they want your accounting number, routing number, any of that stuff, that should be your sign right away. This is not it. I would encourage you to report them to the FBI, and from there, it's rest is history.
Right. And one of the last things we want to talk about to keep in mind while you're working from home in the midst of this COVID-19 stuff, our quarantine days, is this. Availability. Availability is a big thing because now we're working from home. Okay, we have access, some of us, to our company's networks through, VPNs, virtual private networks. We have these things of this nature, but what if something happens to the hardware that I have? What if my laptop crashes?
Oh, no.
What if, Johnny and Sally are playing and boom, there goes your laptop? I mean, it can happen.
Yes, it can.
So, what do you do? Now's the time, if you haven't had that conversation already, to really talk with your employer about, backing up your information. What kind of resources does your company have available to make sure that information, should something happen to the hardware, it can still be retrieved? Because 9 times out of 10, at a time like this, you're not going to be able to just walk into your company's office right now and just, go grab your extra files, or, if you need something there physically, or to go there physically, really, you won't be able to do it. So having those backups in place so that if something happens, let's say your laptop does get a virus, maybe you are infected, your laptop rather is infected with ransomware. What do you do? Well, guess what? Backups and things of that nature, they're going to be key when you have hardware that fails, when you have viruses or different things on your computer that render it inoperable. So you want to make sure you have this information, because the thing about a backup, 9 times out of 10, you're better safe than sorry, meaning
Exactly.
this. You don't want to be in a position where you need it and you don't have it. I'd rather have it and not need it, but I know that I have it, right?
Right.
So keep those things in mind. The confidentiality of the information and the work that you're doing on your hardware, your equipment, your laptop that you've taken home for work, the integrity of the information, people contacting you, requesting information, PII, personally identifiable information, such as bank account numbers, social security numbers, things of that nature, and the availability of the resources that you're using to do your work at home, making sure that you have those backups, those backup plans put in place so you have access to those resources.
You want to make sure as well that you don't want to just take your flash drive, say for instance your wife may use, and she takes to work all the time. You have confidential information that your company's entrusting you with. You don't want to loosely say that anywhere.
Right.
Now, my wife has it, she brought to work, and then she says, oh, you know what, let me take everything off my flash drive, save it to here, and then this person, now someone has these very important documents that's been spread around. So the best thing to do is to make sure that your company can give you a external drive or a personal flash drive just for your use for work purposes only,
Right.
and making sure that, hey, the company has a cloud in place where I can send everything to the cloud for backup as well.
Right. Those are good points to make. So once again, we want everyone to stay safe, you know, in the times that we're dealing with, but we want everybody to still be able to make those wise choices when it comes to your technology so that you can make those informed decisions and continue to get your work done. Once again, I'm Asia.
And Corey.
And once again, we are with House of Tek. Thank you for tuning in.